What do you do when a child can't go to school? Not because they won't, but because the thought of it fills them with overwhelming anxiety. Hello and welcome to The Sensational Life with Bibic. I'm Abby.
And I'm Natalie.
And we are developmental therapists at Bibic.
Each week we're going to dive into the many layers of life with honesty, heart and a little bit of humour, because let's face it, navigating the world with additional needs can be tough, but it also can be empowering, inspiring and yes, a little bit sensational.
Bibic is a national charity that supports many individuals with neurological or developmental challenges, and this podcast is our way of bringing support, tips and real stories straight to you.
This season we're talking all things education, from navigating the classroom with confidence, discovering learning strategies, we're unpacking it all with some great guests too. So whether you're a parent, a teacher or someone that just wants to better understand how to support the SEND community, you're in the right place.
So grab a cuppa, get comfy and let's make the world a little more inclusive, one episode at a time. Hello, welcome back to another podcast. We are both here today, Natalie in body, maybe not in mind.
Mind and spirit.
She's feeling a bit poorly again.
Oh, I keep every season, I reckon.
Yeah.
Series? No, I don't know. I did that so many times. Oh, I don't think
you don't even know which one it is, do you?
We also podcast on location. We have decided to find ourselves a corner in Bibic, sit in some chairs with the laptop on. Well, we won't show you a picture.
No, but we tried to go for a less echoey location.
Yeah.
So do let us know if it does sound better. Today we're going to be having a chat about emotional-based school avoidance.
Yeah, it's quite a new term, isn't it, EBSA?
Yeah. So EBSA is a term that is used to describe children and young people who experience challenges in attending school. This can be due to negative feelings like anxiety.
Yeah.
And EBSA is commonly associated with emotional and physical stress and a reluctance to attend school, which can lead to reduced attendance and then further anxiety about attending school. I think we see a lot of children and young people come through Bibic that are struggling to be in school.
And I think it was, I remember when we started sort of talking about EBSA, because it was really important from that perspective of you haven't just got a child that's saying no, they don't want to go to school. And I think sometimes that's the really hard part about school avoidance, because a lot of the time it can be stereotyped or fit under that umbrella of they just don't want to go to school. And actually EBSA opens it up to give more reasoning to why they don't want to go to school. Yeah. So it's not they're just a kid that sat in their bedroom playing on their Xbox saying, no, I don't want to go to school today. There's an actual underlying reason. There's an emotional based school avoidance. So there's a reason. So they're not going because of the anxiety that school's causing, the physical response that school might be having on them. And I think that's what I really, especially when we started going on about it, that actually that was so important.
Yeah. I would say that this has always been around.
Yes.
I think there's probably been an increase, and I haven't got the scientific background to back this up, but since COVID-19, I would say there's been a massive increase in that's quite...
You said the word. I feel like people don't like talking about COVID anymore.
No.
And I feel like it's like a real taboo thing to talk about COVID, but it's all... they haven't done enough studies, but I feel like, and a lot of the time we have conversations about it, is has the child been impacted by COVID or are there other things?
Yeah.
And we did go through a phase, didn't we, where we are looking in specifically in terms of language and behavioural responses. Were they a COVID-19 child that was impacted? So we had a conversation a long, long time ago about what ages and what was
the impact of it
based on like development, wasn't it? We were looking at the age range and what they were meant to do. Typically, I do an inverting commas, typically for development. And that was a big thing that we talked about as well.
Yeah.
Because I think you have to think about it.
You really do. And it's not to say that every child that was born and experienced the COVID-19 pandemic has been affected by it. But I would say that there's a lot of individuals out there who have been affected by it. It's caused increased levels of anxiety around health for them, potentially. You've got the neurodivergent side of things where actually I'm in my own environment and I can control all of this. I can learn at home. Why do I then need to go back to school?
100%. And you think also if you're someone that's particularly literal and you like to follow rules, there was a period of your life where you weren't allowed to touch anyone, talk to anyone, see relatives. You had to stand a certain distance away from people. And then it just seemed like out of nowhere, suddenly we were allowed to sit next to each other again and you're back in a classroom full of people. But also if you're someone that's particularly sensitive to sensory input, you've gone from a world where it was quiet, where you were comfortable, where you were in your own space, and you've been sort of like ambushed back into the world of
thrust back into this world where there's loud noises, people are close to you, you've got to wear school uniform that's not as comfortable as your own.
I know, I would say I actually found coming out of COVID really hard. I definitely am more like auditory sensitive since COVID. I cannot stand busy, loud environments.
No.
I like, because it was lovely when it was quiet.
Just go out for a walk by myself.
Quiet. Even driving on the road, because I was classed, because we had horses and things like that, so I was classed in the realms that we were allowed to travel to get to the horses and stuff like that. And quiet roads, no one around, blissful, if you ask me.
I didn't really have that because I was working at a school when it was COVID, so I did go back in quite quickly. There was a couple of weeks where we didn't go in, and then we were in because we were the key workers and we had the kids in.
Must have been so scary in school as well, like having to try, especially children, try and get children to understand, and then also as an adult knowing the impact of what COVID-19 was having on families and people, and then you're working with kids. That must have been.
Yeah, it was a very interesting experience. Not one that I would like to
I started working at Bibic at the beginning of COVID-19.
Did you?
Yeah. My training with Bibic was digital because of COVID-19. And I was straight in because we were having to sort out all the bookings.
Yeah.
So we were having to make sure that families were safe in the centre. So I literally just started. It was with Eloise and we did all my training. We spent the entire day on Zoom to each other, her teaching me, and we were sorting out all the bookings.
Yeah.
It's mad.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is a period of time that you look back on and go, what was that?
Yeah, so COVID-19 did have quite a bit of an impact.
I think it's something to take into account. When we do assessments, we do take that into account and see whether that's had that impact.
And I think also the more and more research they do on it in terms of the impact it's had on children, development and learning, that will be interesting as well, because it's something that our generation experienced, or many of the generations have experienced, and what impact that has.
When we're looking at the reasons behind EBSA, there can be a number of behavioural factors that can contribute to it. So we've talked about COVID-19 being one of them. There's also like environmental factors. So if that's it may be the case if a child's having to prioritise things in their life, for like an element of control. And that element of control can also link into ODD, which is oppositional defiant disorder. And demand avoidance. So ODD is generally part of a ADHD profile. There's a continual pattern of behaviour, like outbursts and arguing, and disruptive behaviour towards generally authoritative figures.
It kind of comes from like a skewed perception of the world, doesn't it? It's that perception of I'm always getting in trouble, or I'm always doing the wrong thing, or I'm not good enough, I can't do it right, through no fault of anyone.
No.
There it might be, because especially if you think with ADHD, they're individuals that potentially find themselves in situations that may not be best for their best interest. Through impulse, through sort of hyperactivity, and that can lead to the people in their environment often telling them to sit down, be quiet, go back to their seats.
Don't do that. No, you'll hurt yourself. Because you're trying to keep them safe.
And which then leads to this ODD, because it starts developing a skewed perception of the world, that I can't do anything wrong, I'm not going to do it right, I'm always in trouble, so what's the point?
Yeah.
Why would I even bother? So I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah. Or I want that attention, and actually getting negative attention is just in there, but like book.
And this was, and to be fair, this was a conversation I was having the other day, because if you think ADHD is all chemical based and it's very driven by dopamine, if the
I remember.
if the only dopamine they are receiving is negative, that's then giving their body what they crave. Therefore, they're going to seek out because it was through something that I heard on a podcast I was listening to, because they were telling you about if you're having negative thoughts, don't try. It's a really hard one to explain, but because there's a lot to it, but it's basically like, don't try and come up with a strategy to make yourself feel better. So an example is, if you're having a negative thought or a looping thought or anything like that, and then you try and avoid that. So I started doing it by counting.
Yeah.
And what happened is the body found that the counting was making me feel better. Therefore, the brain automatically goes back to the negative thought because it wants to feel better again. So it wants you to count again.
Right.
So you kind of get stuck in this loop of where thinking and it's all like subconscious, but like thinking negatively and start counting because the counting made you feel better.
Yeah.
So you need to go back to the negative thought to have that feeling better situation
Interesting
again.
Take on it.
It was I would have to find out what podcast it was, but it was so interesting because it made sense, because I always felt like when I was doing something to try and distract myself as such, like having a negative thought and counting, I always went back to negative thought. So it's kind of like why things like your mindfulness and stuff like that work better, because you're trying to like redirect your brain, whereas it was a little bit too complicated.
It's just a little bit like, it's, you know, like when people go to comfort food.
Yeah.
So if they're feeling upset or there's a negative thought, they might turn to a food.
Yeah, that's a better way to
give them that kind of like endorphin rush that they're looking for, and then the next time they feel that negative emotion, they're going to go back to, oh, that made me feel better, so I'm going to have some chocolate. Talking about myself here, people.
God's sake, Abby, we don't cry, we don't eat chocolate. It is like, and it made sense. And I was having a conversation with a family about it the other day, because the individual wasn't doing anything to make themselves feel better. So they weren't seeking positive dopamine. It was all negative dopamine. So therefore they were like, well, I don't really know why I want it and why I seek it. But to be fair, they were so open. It was such an easy time to have a conversation like that, because they were so open. We could do that. Whereas if the individual's not so emotional intelligent and doesn't notice things like that, but yeah, they were saying that actually they kind of felt good when they got in trouble, and it was because that was the only that was all they were getting. Yeah. So actually, if you think with this, if with ODD, if all they're getting,
yeah. And then, like, demand avoidance is the resistance to kind of everyday life tasks, isn't it? So eating, sleeping, that sort of thing, having to get dressed. So you might have the given excuses. I'll do it in a minute. Avoidance, and you could get outright no as well.
And that more comes from the anxiety side of things, isn't it? The anxiety of what the demand might entail, and they often seek for more like physical stuff as well. I can't go to school because I broke my leg. Yeah. That sort of thing. Yeah. I think that was quite an first. Usually it's probably not broke my leg. It's probably not broken. But yeah, there's lots of reasons as to why EBSA can occur. Yeah. These are just a few of them. Yeah. So if you are finding yourself in the position where you're trying to support a young person or an individual with EBSA, there are lots of things that you can do. Natalie's already spoken about, like the mindfulness, which is a really good strategy. And I think also trying to get to why, like, I know it can be quite hard, but like, has something happened? Are they particularly? I feel like sometimes when we have assessments, it might be that we find out that they're really struggling with auditory processing. They're really struggling with something that just flies under the radar.
Yeah.
And that then causes this build and build and build of anxiety, which then you get.
Yeah. You've got that masking element with neurodiversities, that if they don't have that outlet to let that mask down, can cause that anxiety build up.
Yeah.
Because they need that release. But there's lots of things that we can do to support, and I know that we've suggested loads of them in various assessments that we've been on.
So I think something really important to touch on before we go into the strategies is, what do you do when you have an individual that has suffered from EBSA and then they hit full burnout? And I think we've experienced it quite a handful of times. I know I have, through assessments where the child has just got to that point. It might be through EBSA, it might be through autism, it might be for other reasons, but they've completely hit burnout and they just can't engage, they just can't go. And what does that look like? Because I've had quite a few conversations with parents, and also us as a team, we've had conversations of what advice do we give to those parents that have an individual that has completely burned out and they just can't get themselves to school.
No. I think, keep saying I think.
I think.
I've had a discussion with parents before, where, as a society,
going
a bit,
careful.
No,
everyone stay tuned. Abby has just gone as a society.
No, I just mean like with school.
We've done COVID-19,
so we're just going for it now. No. But there's this big pressure to go into school for education. And education is important. Every child has a right to an education. It doesn't have to be the same education as mainstream school. And it is okay to take a step back and give your individual time to recover.
I could not agree more. And I feel like that was why it's so important to highlight, because, again, I've had a conversation with some families, but also within our team, and actually, how long does that look like? Well, we don't know. If that individual isn't engaging with any education, having the right communication with school and keeping open communication, talking to other professionals that might support, but if that is for the moment, putting a pause to allow them to come out of fight, flight, freeze, fawn, go back to episode 1. I always do that now. If they're stuck in there, giving them time to come out, giving them time to reset, because one family I was able to support with a large quantity of the journey, and they were actually able to find that what they needed was a different provision, and that might not be that every child needs a different provision. It might just be they need time, but that individual spent so much time masking, they are really burnt out, but we spent time on allowing them to come out of fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and they are now in a specialist provision, more an emotional based provision, and re-engaging. So it might just be allowing that time and not feeling like you have to put so much pressure. Obviously, you do want, like, it's having a goals, isn't it?
Yeah.
What is the outcome? And is it simply by the end of the month, you just want them to walk past the front gate of school?
Yeah.
Like, is that your goal? Rather than, I feel like we always go straight to the end goal. Well, I want them back in the classroom for 5 days a week.
When actually you could push your child to go into school, but you're just going to end up probably in that same place again, not too long from when you've got them back in. And just giving yourself and them that mental break and taking that pressure off so that they can work on feeling better within themselves.
I think even I had a conversation with a colleague, and they recommended, literally, if all they do is put the school uniform on and take it off again, that was like the first step. Because even just putting the uniform on was causing anxiety. So if that was just the first step that they could get them to, then that was major, and then move from there.
I had one individual, and I mean, they're still going through it now, but they were having such difficulty in school because they were masking and putting all this pressure on themselves, and they went into burnout. And the family made the decision that they were going to step back from school.
Take the foot off the accelerator.
Took like you said, the foot off the accelerator, took the pressure away from them, and allowed the individual time to just reset. And this individual loves learning. And so they were doing learning at home. So it wasn't like they weren't getting some form of education, but being in that environment was too much. Loves doing projects and things like that and learning. But just couldn't manage at that point being in mainstream school.
I just felt like we needed to touch on that. Just quickly.
Give yourselves a break, parents.
Cool. Strategies. How we support it.
Sorry, back to that. You know us, we like to go off on a tangent.
Back on topic.
So, things that they can do within school. So particularly with primary schools, there's a program called EBSA, which is Emotional Literacy Support Assistant. So generally within a school, or if you're in a federation of schools, there's going to be one or more trained learning support assistants, or TAs, whatever you call them from where you're from, that is going to be trained in this, and they can support with self-esteem sort of things, managing emotions, recognising their own emotions. Make sure that within school that they've got a safe person that they feel that they can go and talk to.
I also like a safe space as well. I feel like designating an area where that is it the book corner? Is it there a specific room that they can go to? Or I feel like when I was at school, it was always like you felt really, really good. If you were sent to reception, you went and spent time with the office staff. I felt like that was always like, that was where the place was to be. But anything like that.
Anything. I tell you what, if you've got, this is not necessarily related to EBSA, but if you've got someone who has that flight response and is a runner, having a designated safe space that they can go to. Is going to be really good, because you know that they're going to be safe. They're not just going to run.
It's where they're going to go to. It might be sort of like sitting them closer to the teacher, or to a sort of a TA, so then in sort of like eye shot. And it might also be creating those subtle signals with them. Is it potentially every now and then you put your thumb up to them, or you give them a slight smile, and they can sort of communicate with you through not having to talk? So do they literally just put a wobbly thumb up or anything like that, just to kind of indicate, actually, I'm struggling a little bit?
Set small, low demand, easily achieved goals. So, like Natalie said, actually just putting on the uniform. Let's just do that. Whether it's you're in school, but they're individuals not necessarily engaging. They're in school, so actually, what's my goal going to be? I'm going to sit on the carpet for 5 minutes, or I'm going to get my book out and, I don't know, write the date, and then that's...
And I think also we always go, like we were saying earlier, going back to why. So it might not be easy to work out why, but think about the executive functioning aspect of it. Is it they're struggling to plan and organise? Is it they're struggling to anticipate what's coming up next? So can you be putting things in timetables, breaking things down into manageable chunks, giving them sort of a guide, using post-it notes of like what they need to do and things like that. So trying to break things down to support their executive functioning, because also in turn, as we know from our first season,
listen to series 1.
Flight,
freeze, and form. We'll get our tongues on.
I was going to say, it's literally sensory all over again. Falls into your sensory system, which falls into your executive function and all that sort of stuff. So can you really help with those sort of things?
And you can support the behaviour behind EBSA as well. So labelling the behaviour, not the individual, giving them those boundaries and consequences with a consistent approach in all settings. So if you've got someone who is particularly anxious, they're going to need that almost rigidity, consistency so that they know what's going to happen in all areas. Simplify language.
Yeah, keep it simple.
So if they are having those heightened levels of anxiety about going in, talking to them.
Yeah, and talking to them why and what and what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Just over
at that moment.
Yeah.
Not going to be the best, because it's just going to send them further into that fight-flight response.
Yeah. You chose not to do all of them then, did you?
Yeah, I did.
And then you were doing your flip.
I was doing my flip in the lid that you can't see.
Again, we forgot this is a podcast.
Tell you what, one we do suggest, and I know it's really difficult to do because I do it with my own son, is we say tell them what they can do, not what they can't do.
Yeah.
And I find it really difficult to do this with him, because in the moment you're like, oh, don't do that, or, you know, oh, you can't do this, or actually, if you've got someone who is displaying demand avoidance or ODD, telling them, using that sort of language, like, no, don't.
Yeah.
You're only going to make the response worse, to be honest.
And they're more likely to do it.
Yeah.
And we always say use stop and finish as well, don't we? Instead of no and don't, because eventually they will stop and eventually they will finish.
And try and redirect them to something that they can do. So if they are becoming emotionally distressed about, I don't know, putting on their school uniform, direct them to something that you know that they can do.
Mm-hmm.
So you are taking that demand away from them.
Yeah.
So actually, all right, so we're not going to get dressed out. So, okay, go brush your teeth.
Yeah. And then move on.
And then move on and try different things. Yeah.
Well, I think that's Natalie and Abby's snippet for the week. We're about snippet for the week?
Snippet for the week?
Snippet?
What's a snippet for the week? Do tell me and our listeners, Natalie.
I don't know, Abby. I'm poorly. That's our episode for this week.
Yeah.
There
might be another episode on EBSA and things too, because there is a lot that we can talk about.
And I was going to say, actually, we do have a training that we offer on EBSA, and we are in the process of making our training available online for families.
So good.
Yeah, so it's in the pipeline.
Yeah.
So it will be one of those trainings where families can go onto our website and they can do it in their own time and just learn more about it. But also, I feel like this is a real one of those topics to say, don't forget about our SAL line, so our support and advice line, because if you do have an individual that you think is struggling with EBSA and you want some support and some advice, because it's so individual, that actually it might be worth getting in contact with our SAL line. So you can drop them an email or you can phone and talk through what your specific individual is struggling with. And
what's really good about it is you get up to three strategies to go home with.
Yeah. And it just talking to someone about it. I sometimes find just talking to someone about it, because that's the bigger thing, is just not sort of talking.
Yeah, I find if I keep it in my head, it gets what Natalie's used to me now, because I just talk at Natalie and she lets me have my outward verbal spiral, and then I just get on with it.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
I'm literally the same. I'm like, no, don't need help, you just got to listen.
Yeah. Need to listen.
So yeah, don't forget to use that. Anyway, thanks for listening.
Thanks for tuning in to The Sensational Life with Bibic. We hope you're leaving with new insights, fresh ideas, and a bit more inspiration than when you press play.
If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to follow or subscribe. And if you have a moment, leave us a review. It really helps us reach more listeners and grow this amazing community.
If you've got a question, a story to share, or a topic you'd love us to cover, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at thesensationallife@bibic.org.uk.
And don't forget to come over and say hello on social media. Follow Bibic to stay up to date with episodes, extras, and maybe some behind the scenes bits.
Until next time, keep it sensational.